The Gunners put up an A+ performance with Kai Havertz netted his first goal for Arsenal at the 10th attempt as Mikel Arteta's side returned to winning ways in the Premier League with an emphatic 4-0 victory over Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium. The £65 million arrival from Chelsea converted from the penalty spot after Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard made the net bulge in the first half, while Ben White also got in on the act late on to cap off the Gunners' best top-flight performance of the season so far. Prior to the trip south, Arteta poured doubt on the availability of all of Saka, William Saliba and Declan Rice due to their various afflictions, but the Spaniards' pre-game comments proved to be just smoke and mirrors. All three made the first 11 at the Vitality, and Saka breached the Bournemouth backline with just 17 minutes gone, as Odegaard sent in a delightful in-swinging ball to the back stick for Gabriel Jesus to meet the Brazilian's header from a tight angle rebounded off the post and into the path of Saka, who could not miss with a header of his own from a couple of yards out. Efforts from the Cherries to restore parity were met with stiff resistance from Arsenal, who kept their composure while Max Aarons lost his in the 44th minute, inexplicably scything Eddie Nketiah down inside the penalty area. Captain Odegaard stepped up to the chalk, and following a stuttering run-up, the Norwegian calmly stroked home a side-footed penalty into the bottom corner, sending Neto the wrong way to double Arsenal's advantage. Neto's opposite number David Raya was a spectator for most of the first half, but the Brentford loanee was called into action in the 5th minute of second-half injury time, getting down low to keep out and hold Ryan Christie's shot across goal from inside the box. Let's go around the punditry world to hear what the experts are saying about this perfect performance.
It's a difficult task when you do it every 3 days, the way that we have to play games even more, and with the players that we were missing and we had issues all the week, even more so happy. I think the way we played, we have earned the right to win the game.
I think it's the weakest game we've played this season. Today was the first day that I don't finish, proud of what the players have done. And now we have to, this week, I had to reset, to prepare very well, because it's a very important game against Everton now.
How does that come about that Bukayo passes the ball to Kai for the penalty, for his first goal for Arsenal?
I think it just shows how special we are as a group, to be honest with you. I don't know how in other teams maybe there's a specific penalty taker, but we know in this moment how much we're all behind Kai. And you can see that with the fans today, and obviously to hand him the ball and for him to slot it away like that in a big pressure moment. It was a key moment for him, and obviously for us in the game to go 3-0.
Yep, comfortable victory for Arsenal. A lot of talk about Havertz, hasn't there? About the fact that he was at Chelsea and now he's gone to Arsenal. What's his best position? This, that, and the other. But that confidence booster they wanted to give him that penalty, which was an interesting and a nice thing to do.
I love it. Yeah. I really did. I think you don't know who's going to take it. He's got Odegaard. He's going to be Saka, and then when Havertz steps up, you think, just what you need. A little bit of confidence. Things have not gone well for him. We know that. I know he scored the Champions League, the goal in the final, but since that moment, we've not seen the best of him. What? I really do rate him. I think he's got something.
He's got a lot of talent.
He's got a lot of talent. Yeah. But this is stats here. Yeah. It's not good enough, is it, Alan? No,
when you look at the numbers, I mean, there's definitely player in there, but when you look at his ability, that doesn't match those numbers. They need to improve. But you know that you have to pay 60, 70, 80 million pound for a squad player nowadays.
Yeah. Well, that's probably
so he's going to play his part, but whether he'll be a regular or not, I don't think so.
Can I ask you something? Would you have let him take the penalty?
It's not very often you ask stupid questions.
Well, it is, actually.
You know the answer to that, Gary. No, I wouldn't.
Well, that's why I asked you.
Would you, Gary?
Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah, right.
Not in a million years. What a week for Newcastle, who put 8 past Sheffield United before knocking Manchester City out of the League Cup. Stop smirking. The first 3 p.m. kick-off at St.
So Arsenal, like Tottenham, remain unbeaten, 4 goals, a couple of penalties. And amongst that, the first Arsenal goal for £60 million signing Kai Havertz, who of course arrived from Chelsea in the summer. Mikel Arteta saying afterwards how pleased he was. He's a player that has had external issues, and he's delighted the way the rest of his players have responded and supported him.
Yes, and rightly so. I think that's why you have to be very careful when you're talking about games and individuals, because we don't know what goes on in their lives. Yes, you can criticise a person's performance, or you can say yes, he played well, he struggled today, etc., etc. But you can't go overboard, which I think a lot of people do. And if he's got problems externally, as Mikel Arteta said, well, you know, he's shown a strength of character there to play and to score a goal. And as I said, he looks very happy. It was a really dominating performance by Arsenal today.
He's lucky he's got players that will actually give him the ball to take the penalty. I've been in some dressing rooms and, you know, you're the penalty taker. I do think it's quite strange, to be honest, you know, Saka, Odegaard, and then Havertz for obviously a different reason taking it. But, I mean, for him, you know, obviously delighted because, like Maka said, you never know what goes on in people's lives. You know, there's a lot of things that can affect the way you play. But obviously, for him, you know, it's good.
Yeah, really good start for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Just must ask you about your former club under Iraola. A lot of people have said to me, oh, it's a much, much happier place. It's much better football to watch. But they haven't won yet.
It's all about winning. You have to win games. There's no point playing well and not getting anything, you know. And I think, you know, Bournemouth, especially my time there, you know, good work ethic, all the players. You know, you can always... We knew when you're at Bournemouth, you know, you can't go toe-to-toe with all the big teams, but there's one thing that you bring to a game is, you know, I suppose the non-negotiables is, you know, you try and work as hard as the opposition, home and away. But like I said, you know, it's no point playing well, but you're not getting results.
Yeah. Look soft, don't he, today? I don't mean that in a way. They just were easy to play against. Yeah. They may play nicer football than last year, but you'd rather swap last year's performances because they were safe with 5 games to go. They look as if they're easy to beat. And some of the penalty decisions and the diving in and the decision-making by the defenders was really, really disappointing. And that's a big worry for them. Yes, they may play well. Who cares playing well? Get your decisions right on the pitch.
Talking of decisions, Mac. OK.
Confidence back up, you know, so I still question marks over Havertz, but, you know, as I say, they're in cruise control today, Arsenal.
Yeah.
We've not mentioned Liverpool yet either.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing Spurs at 5:30, so, you know, Klopp and Postecoglou will be taking a bit of comfort out of City losing as well.
I'd imagine so, yeah. And just on the Arsenal performance there, we'll show a little bit of Odegaard after the break, but they have got the kind of quality that if you do what Bournemouth do today, which is essentially not much, you're going to get punished with Arsenal not even getting out of third gear, right?
Yeah, you're right. Owen, you summed it up. They didn't get out of third gear, they didn't have to. It was a very professional performance, accomplished from Arsenal, but they were never really tested. And I think, you know, they look relegation material, Bournemouth, on that evidence now. I know it's really early in the season to say that, but there has to be a huge improvement in their performances.
It's supposed to be a high-pressing team. That's the reputation Iraola brought. You're giving me a look, Shay, to say, what pressing?
Well, we might have a piece after the break on David Raya as well, but he, you know, we talked about how good he is with the ball at his feet. Had a cigar on, and there was one point towards the second half, I think it went into Jorginho, and there was no Bournemouth player in the same postcode as him. He laid it off. He could have turned, you know, and we didn't see any press at all from Bournemouth today, and that's a concern. As Neil rightly says, you know, O'Neill has a brilliant result today for Wolves, and it's human nature for the fans and the board and everything. You know, have we made the right decision?
Yeah, but there was questions for you, Shay. You know, Gary O'Neill did a great job. I was one of them. He thought that no chance of staying up last year, and he did a mini miracle. And then he loses his job off the back of that. I don't understand that. Now, maybe they wanted Iraola in. He has got to prove that he's got the components to be a coach in this division. He's not showing it at the minute.
Well, yeah, they've got some potentially easier fixtures coming up. Everton, Wolves, Burnley. They'll need points from those games, or else he's going to be under big pressure. As for Arsenal, we all know what's happening next weekend. It's Manchester City, and they're coming in off a defeat. We'll talk about all that after the break. Some big results around the Premier League today, not the least of which is Wolves beating Manchester City. It's 2 defeats on the spin now in all competitions for City. Not a good week for them. It was a good day for Arsenal. They were 2-0 up at half-time. We were hoping for some sort of competitiveness in the second half. It didn't really come. And Kai Havertz has his first goal as an Arsenal player. Yeah, I mean, it's an easy decision, I think, for the referee. Christie dives in, gives a daft penalty away, to be honest, Owen, and you know, he's trying to claim it and say to the referee, look at it back, you know, but I think, as Breeny says in commentary, when he looks at it back himself, he's thinking, what's he flying in at there? He got the ball eventually.
Eventually, there's a touch at the end, but he's took Odegaard out, and for me, it's not even a hard decision. You don't even need VAR to look at it. It's just poor defending, it's lazy defending. I don't know. He's just rash, and then of course we were sort of talking off air. Why is Havertz taking it? Because I imagine Odegaard's the penalty taker, but again, the reaction after this maybe explains a bit, you know, they're all round him, you know, suppose trying to build his confidence up, get him part of the group. You can see this is a good footage out there when they're all slapping him in the back of the head. Yeah, it's interesting though, Neil, you reminded me of a quote from Arteta earlier in the season after the Palace game when Odegaard took the penalty that day, even though Saka would be their regular penalty taker. He was asked, who's your first choice taker? And what Arteta said was, I have no clue. It's about leadership of players. They have to make those decisions on the pitch. It's an unusual approach. Very unusual, because normally, you know, it's decided before the game and you're going through your set plays, your free kicks, corners, and
here's the designated penalty taker for the day. So I was quite surprised when Mikel came out with that, because he's very detailed in his preparation, obviously. But Odegaard stepped up today, did the damage, and then Havertz followed up with the second penalty quite comfortably.
We can have a look at the fourth goal, Ben White.
Yeah, I mean, it's a set play, and you know, Bournemouth have been very poor on set plays. Lovely flick ball in from Odegaard, and you know, Ben's just strong and he's unmarked. I know Bournemouth are zonal, but you've got to go and attack that early. Look, it's far too easy. You know, there's no real contact on him. There's no one trying to put him off his jump. And the ball's even floated in, Shea. There's no real whip on it, you know, and it's a great header from his point of view, but a free header.
No, you're fed up with Bournemouth today. I fed up with Sarr for
I am, honestly.
He actually made a few saves.
Yeah.
Could have lost by more.
Yeah, it could have been a lot more. But the keeper made some good saves, especially in the second half, towards the second, as if they'd, like, not lost interest, but they just were miles off it today, Bournemouth, and the keeper made some good saves to keep the score down. But again, I would question the bigger picture. You know, you said 7 games now without a victory in the Premier League. Where do Bournemouth go from here? You mentioned Everton away next, which will be, is it too early to say, a 9-pointer and 8 games in? But it's getting to that stage already. They're down in trouble straight away.
You know what it's like, Shea? You get into a malaise, it's really hard to get out of it. You need to dig in, and sometimes you need to change the way you play one as well. But you know, that's not hard to change from. Because
what I sort of was going to say, Lenny, to you about half time, we said, let's see reactions, let's see what the manager does at half time. Did you see anything second half? That's what I mean. Like, so the fans watching as well be going, what's going on here? What have they done?
I was looking forward to this high pressing that they talk about. I didn't see any of it. You know, and I know like Raya's really good on the ball, and sometimes you can't go and press when the goalkeeper's comfortable in possession. But there were times when the ball was going wide and they didn't even stop them on one side of the pitch. Arsenal were able to come through the midfield. And the distances between, you know, Bournemouth's attacking players in the midfield and defence was all over the place.
Yeah, Everton is going to be interesting, as you say. Wolves with the Gary O'Neill factor. That's going to be a fascinating match in 2 games' time. Burnley they've got as well after that, and eventually Man City. So,
but that's maybe the games that you really. I mean, they played. You know, have they played Man United? They played Liverpool.
Liverpool, yeah.
You know,
they played Chelsea.
They played Chelsea. So, you know, they've got to judge themselves against Burnley, the Evertons of this world. But on that showing, they've got no chance of one.
Martin Odegaard was involved in the 2 goals we've seen there, and involved in the 2 goals in the first half as well. So a nice day out for him.
I thought he had a great game. He showed all. This is a great ball in. You know, the weight of the cross is perfect for Jesus to head it back across goal. I just thought, you know, his positional play, you know, his awareness. That's just a beautiful way to pass and disguise on the pass as well. I just thought, you know, today he showed his class. He's been a wonderful player for the last sort of season and a half now for Arsenal, and. Yeah, I mean, I know he's a child prodigy when he was at, you know, Real Madrid, but he's found a real home here, and he's showing all his talent again. You know, just look at his close control and brilliant awareness. So on, you know, it was a really good all-round performance. Enjoyed watching him play today.
Impressed?
Yeah, I think he just signed a new contract there last week as well. So he's there for the next good few years, and he's the captain of the football club. And sometimes you say Arsenal lack leaders, but I think with him, his performances, he leads with his performances as well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. We went big on the David Raya versus Aaron Ramsdale dynamic before the match. So what did you think about Raya brought to the table today?
Well, what he does do, and I'm not no slight on Ramsdale, he's very calm. That's a brilliant pass. So what he does, he attracts the opposition to go and press him. You mentioned there before, you know, this is goalkeeping. He holds this really well because one of them awkward ones, but he's very positive coming for crosses. He does everything. He ticks every single box. But I think, you know, this is a brilliant pass out to the right back as well. But what he does do, this is what he does. Look where he's positioning here now, and he's really high up in the pitch. So he's literally playing. You're like 11 outfield players now when Raya's like this. He's so high up. He's so controlled. And as Lenny rightly says, now if Bournemouth go to press him, he's waiting for someone to jump, and then it creates space somewhere else, and Arsenal are out. You know, he's just waiting for the striker to go and press him there.
So he does make a difference. I can see why they've gone for him. Yeah. That is different to Ramsdale, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, Ramsdale, I don't think is bad with the ball at his feet as well. But again, I think it's much of a muchness. I think if the players are ready to receive the ball, Ray's very good at that, and I think Ramsdale as well. But what I'm saying is he's very just calm. You know, I think that spreads throughout the team as well on the ball.
Because you weren't sure about this. Neither of you were big fans of what they've done with the goalkeeping situation here, but you must have liked what you saw from Raya there. Under not a huge amount of pressure.
No, it wasn't under a huge amount of pressure. Everything he did today, he did well with the, you know, touch of professionalism, class, everything was clean. But he never really got tested. Yeah. I agree with Shea. I don't think there's much in it between the goalkeepers in terms of even when the ball's at the feet. He's done well for England recently, Ramsdale. So it's going to be interesting to watch over the season when how it pans out.
There's only one slightly negative point here for Arsenal today that I can see, and that is Bukayo Saka, who was in the wars a bit. He plays every game for them. They put him out there today. He had a foot injury last week. He got a couple of whacks today and eventually went off with a big couple of games ahead this week.
And it didn't look good, you know, towards the end. I mean, he gets a bit of a dead leg here, but, you know, that's one of those that you can run off.
This is the one that seems to have injured him,
the follow through from Kirkes, and it catches him on it looks like the ankle. And that can be quite sore, it just clips him. And then there was a spell where he's just hobbling around, you know, and at 3-0, they took off Zinchenko and Nketiah, when really probably they should have got Saka off and give him a breather, when already he's carrying an injury going into the game.
Strange one.
Yeah, well, you mentioned 87 games on the bounce. If you're 3-0 up away from home and you've got big games coming up this week, especially next week, Man City, you know, coming to the Emirates, you'd wrap him up in cotton wool. He's one of their main players, so... you know, Arteta will be sort of praying over the next couple of days. It's not serious.
We'll take a quick break now. A couple of other results to talk about after these. And after the result against Newcastle during the week in the Carabao Cup, you'd have to say it's a bad few days for Man City.
Well, Pep's interview after the game during the week, I mean, me and Lenny were both at the game, was a bit...
Tetchy, wasn't it?
Tetchy, is that the word?
Apparently he was unhappy that they couldn't get a flight home and had to sit in the bus for 3 hours.
He was unhappy about a lot of things after the League Cup midweek, so I don't know what state of mind he's going to be in this evening, but that's a real shock. I mentioned Gary O'Neill again, a brilliant result for him, of course, at Wolves, but for Man City and, you know, the treble winners, that's a big surprise for everyone.
You mentioned off air there that they haven't conceded 2 goals for an awful long time in a game, let alone lost a match by 2-1.
Yeah, especially when you consider the opposition, you know, but they've set such a high bar on for a long time. You know, something's got to give now and again. I don't think it's anything to panic about. However, you know, he'll be bitterly disappointed they lost back-to-back games, and he'll want to rectify that as soon as possible.
Yeah, he sort of uses these oftentimes as a launch pad. We'll wait to see what he has to say afterwards, light a fire under the players, all those kind of things. Roy Hodgson has a great record at Crystal Palace and at Old Trafford for Crystal Palace, and it continued again today. United beaten 1-0. Like we did the Brighton game there a couple of weeks ago, and they were badly beaten that day. Things are looking a bit ropey here for Ten Hag. And
we were talking about it, you know, I thought he'd corrected a lot of things last year after the Ranić debacle, but it looks like they've gone back to square one again, you know, off-field stories, underperforming players, you know, really poor results. I watched the game midweek, you know, the League Cup game, where there was a few changes, man, they were very comfortable, but, you know, they've gone out to them when it really matters and lost another big game, so... I don't know where to go from here, Owen. I mean, they've spent a lot of money again in the transfer window. Whether it's the right players in the right positions that were needed, we don't know. But, you know, it's a very disappointing result.
He has has various players unavailable for a lot of different reasons, Shay. But at the same time, it's a big club. You have to deal with these sort of little crises and get results.
It's a big club, and Lenny says as well, I think they spent something like £400 million now in Ten Hag. And I think that's, if you're the board or even the owners, I know they get a bit of stick up there as well, but... You're going to start looking at the manager and questioning now, has he signed the right players, as you mentioned? Have we got the right people in the right positions? But he'll be looking over his shoulder as well. I'm sure they're sitting 10th in the Premier League. Like that's not good enough for Man United.
How often do we talk about Man United?
Oh yeah.
You know, every year it's the same sort of story since. Obviously, probably since Sir Alex left.
Except for last year, which, as you're saying, you know, and maybe Solskjaer had one decent season as well.
I came up against them in the Europa League with Amoni, and I thought the attitude... They'd got beat 6-3 by Man City.
Yeah.
And I thought they'd come and they'd sulk, but they didn't. Their attitude was brilliant, and then they go home in the League Cup, you know, Champions League, and I'm thinking, oh, this guy's really sorting it out, the attitude and everything, but... They've gone backwards again, Owen.
I keep saying that the City result today is good news for Arsenal. It obviously is, but it's really good news for Liverpool as well, because both of you reckon Liverpool are actually going to be the main challengers this season. They've got this game against Spurs coming up in a few minutes. You've been looking at the teams here, Shay. I'm really looking forward to this, but no idea how it's going to go.
Yeah, I think it's probably the fixture of the weekend. It's a huge game, of course. Both managers flying. I mean, Ange Postecoglou, the job he's done since leaving Celtic, you know, some Tottenham fans were questioning that, but he's proven to a lot of people, even only in the first 6 weeks or whatever, that he's a top manager. And of course, I think Klopp, the way Liverpool finished last season, that's why I sort of pipped them to go really close this year for the Premier League. So that's a really good game. I think it's going to be an exciting game this evening.
Any idea how that's going to go?
Both teams will score, you know, but Spurs have made a great start. I thought they were really impressive again, Shea. You know, last week against Arsenal, they went a goal down twice, and you know, in the big derby, and they handled the occasion really well. Liverpool on the counter attack, you know, they're deadly. So Ange will go for it. whether Klopp counter-attacks. It's going to be a fascinating game to watch.
Should be good. Before we go, what about Arsenal? Last word on them. Obviously, a big week ahead. They've got Lens away on Tuesday night. Then they've got City. How do you think, realistically, they're going to fare against Man City? Because in one way you could spin it, and City are going to have a backlash now.
It's the worst result that Arsenal probably could have wanted. And Lens away won't be easy either. So, you know, if they can get a positive result in France and then take something from the Emirates, then brilliant.
What do you reckon? Do you reckon they can take something from the Emirates next week?
Well, they'll be buoyed by the last two results. Man City obviously losing to Newcastle, and of course today to Wolves. So that'll give not just, I think, Arsenal, but the whole Premier League. They know they are beatable. So. But again, champions always bounce back, so it'll be a great game next week.
If I was to push you now then, I know it's very early in the season, but where do you think Arsenal are going to finish? Are they
not at the top.
But they should be fine for top four?
Yeah, I think they'll be top four, yeah. I think that won't be in question. But I do still think, we mentioned at the top of the show, about there's still, I know they scored 4 goals, probably not the best time to drop it in, but I still feel that they're missing an out-and-out striker who can get 20, 25 goals a season.
It's happened. So it's an easy, comfortable goal for Arsenal. No pressure on the ball. No first contact and certainly no second contact, which is the most important one.
Neto in any way fault there?
No, he's trying to cover that first header originally off the post, and they get a bit of luck if I'm being honest, but Neil's right. Even if he heads that back across goal, it's Saka's still free as a bird in the middle of your goal, so it's very poor defending.
We talked about Eddie and Ketty.